With a partnership agreement, now you're not talking about an employee-employer relationship. You're talking about a partnership relationship. Quite different. So now you're going to have a lawyer, keyword lawyer, not chat GPT, draft up shareholders agreements if it's an incorporated company that you're going to start up, a partnership agreement if it's going to be a partnership company. And in those agreements, you need to fully explain clearly what are the objectives for that new person, what are the milestones, what are the milestones that that person has to reach, what is considered good behavior and what is considered bad behavior, and how does bad behavior get dealt with. And that usually comes to the termination. Now, there could be a involuntary termination where if that partnership is sneaky, is maybe withholding money or hiding funds, well, that would usually be termination for cause, and you have to make sure that you can prove that cause. Or there could be termination without cause, where you want to allow both parties to get out of a partnership, and you have to make sure that you properly spell that out. And with a partnership, in some ways, a partnership has to have better communication than an employee-employer relationship. I think both of them do. Don't get me wrong, please. But for example, with a partnership, you want to be sharing financial data with your partners. If there is a ownership in the company or in the division, you'll want to be able to share financial data with that individual. You don't necessarily have to do that with an employee. The other thing that you want to think about is whether it's an employee or a partnership, what are you going to do about things like a non-compete, non-solicitation, non-deal? Let's talk about that for a moment. So you've both worked on developing this new company, this new division. It could be an employee, it could be a partner. What happens when that relationship is terminated for whatever reason? Can that individual go now and compete against you? If you don't have a non-compete agreement or a clause, non-compete clause in your agreements, chances are, yes, that they can. Now, what about soliciting your clients? You could be in a service business or a type of business where if that individual was to approach your clients and steal them away, you need to have a non-solicitation agreement to be able to deal with that. Now, there's a little trick, an old trick that usually made non-solicitation agreements, quite frankly, almost useless. And this is what it was. Picture that a partner of yours has left, and they have signed a non-solicitation agreement. Well, what they've done is they've gone to a lawyer, and the lawyer, a smart lawyer, will say, hey, guess what? Here's what you can do. When you approach those clients, have them sign a little letter to you that basically says, I was not solicited by the ex-partner. I called the ex-partner myself. So in other words, I solicited the ex-partner. I was not called by the ex-partner. So all of a sudden, the non-solicitation could be up in the air and it could be completely useless. Or you could be fighting this and spending a heck of a lot of legal fees to basically get somewhere or get nowhere. There's a little clause that's called a no deal or a non-deal, which basically says that not only can you not solicit clients, but you cannot deal with those clients, regardless of how they came to you, whether they spoke to you first or you spoke to them first.